Let's get our facts straight about prisoners. It is not a soft life in prison. Anyone who's ever visited a prison, I'm sure it's even more true if you've ever served time in one, or if you're working in one. It is one hell of a way to spend your day, night, every day and night. All this populist, pujadist, red-top guff about prisoners having the life of Riley behind bars is just that. I believe that prisoners have the right to be treated as human beings. They have human rights. The punishment is the imprisonment. We don't deprive them of essential services like food and water and medical attention or educational materials or even sports and other facilities, because the more brutal and uncivilized the prison, the more brutalized and uncivilized will become the prisoner. And guess who'll pay the bill for that when the prisoner comes out? On the 18th of December 2009, the prison population in England and Wales stood at 85,429. The vast majority, 71,744, were sentenced prisoners, denied the right to vote. You may or may not know that there are only three categories of people denied the vote in Britain: peers, that's members of the House of Lords; lunatics, who may or may not be members of the House of Lords; and criminals, who may or may not be members of the House of Lords or Commons. According to a decision this week of the European Court, accepted by the government, admittedly under duress, they say, though my suspicion is they're quite glad that the European Court got them off the hook, one of those categories is to disappear. Prisoners are to be given the right to vote. We'll be debating that with the Guardian's prisons editor, who knew, well, he's the prison correspondent, I should say, who knew that the Guardian had a prison correspondent, who is himself a former prisoner. How liberal is that? His name is Eric Allison, and he'll be agreeing with me, I think, that prisoners should be given the right to vote. But later, Professor Malcolm Davis, head of the Ealing Law School and the director of Civitas Criminal Justice Unit, will argue the contrary point of view.
I think every member, I suspect, in the House is exasperated about this, but we have no choice about complying with the law.
To the tune of Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy, that was Mark Harper, Tory MP for the Forest of Dean. The Constitutional Reform Minister announced in Parliament this week that the government had no choice but to give some prisoners the vote because of a European court ruling. Let me tell you that secretly most politicians are glad that the court made this decision, because the Parliament would have found it hard to make. And we are in breach of the law in denying the basic human right to vote to all citizens in a democratic country. That just leaves lunatics and peers without the vote, who sometimes are one and the same persons. Now, I'm strongly in favour of prisoners having the right to vote, because I believe that the less brutalising the experience in prison, the little separation as possible of prisoners from their families and from public and civic life outside is a good thing to strive for. Not because I'm a lily-livered liberal, I'm not, but because it seems to me that people who pay the price for a brutalised prison population pouring out onto the streets at the end of their sentence is us, the rest of us. So anything that we can do, we should do